Welcome. My name is Peter Strong. I'm a professional psychotherapist based in Boulder, Colorado, and I provide online therapy via Skype. So if you're struggling with agoraphobia, you will appreciate the value of being able to talk to a therapist online to get the help that you need for overcoming this debilitating anxiety disorder. If you'd like to talk to me and get the help that you need to overcome your agoraphobia, then feel free to look at my website and then contact me to ask any questions you may have and to schedule a Skype therapy session. The approach that I use is called Mindfulness therapy, and you can learn a lot more about that on my website. But it's a very effective way of working with emotions. It's a very effective way of working with anxiety. It allows you to change your relationship to your emotions so that you do not become blindly attached to those emotions, which is the typical problem that causes prolonged anxiety disorders. We become blindly identified with those conditioned emotional reactions. And this is what we try to overcome during mindfulness therapy. The way we do that is to very specifically and consciously focus on those emotions and the triggers that trigger the anxiety reactions. So you should think of anxiety as a habit. It's a series of conditioned, unconscious emotional reactions. They operate out of consciousness. And this is the problem. They are blind, conditioned reactions. Once we start bringing conscious awareness to those reactions, we can begin to neutralize those habits quite effectively. So the emphasis here is that the unconsciousness is the real problem, not seeing those habits. When you don't see them, they then dominate your emotional well-being. You become a victim to those habits. So the way we go about changing the anxiety habits is by learning how to apply mindfulness and mindfulness meditation to see those habits very clearly, to illuminate those habits, to bring them back into consciousness. And then we can begin the process of changing those habits, not by a process of trying to convince ourselves not to react. That will not work. That's simply part of the problem. But rather of learning how to be present with the anxiety without reacting, without identifying with the emotions. So we train with the emotions during our meditation sessions to stay present with the anxiety, watching for any sign of reactivity to that anxiety, and then neutralizing that blind habitual reactivity. So the anxiety is one problem. We call that a primary reaction, but by far the bigger problem is the secondary reactivity, where we react to that anxiety with more emotional reactivity and particularly cognitive reactivity, the catastrophic thinking and rumination, and the speculative thinking that accompanies anxiety. What will happen if I go further than the end of the street? What will happen if I can't get back? What will happen if I have a panic attack? All of that reactive thinking feeds the underlying anxiety, the primary reaction. So we want to really see clearly what is going on, because it's only when you can make these habits conscious that you can begin to break free from their influence. And the more you make them conscious, the freer you become. And mindfulness is a very, very effective way of illuminating habits and making them very, very conscious. So that's quite different than simply becoming overwhelmed by the anxiety. When you become overwhelmed, you are technically no longer conscious of that anxiety. You are now a prisoner of it. You are controlled by it, so you can't be conscious. You have to develop objective consciousness where you are the observer in order to be conscious of an emotion or any other experience. You have to be that objective observer. And that is what we're training in during mindfulness therapy and meditation, how to meditate on the anxiety and stay as the observer. This is a critical step that leads to healing and to breaking the habit that causes anxiety. There are other aspects to mindfulness therapy for anxiety and panic attacks and agoraphobia that I'll teach you during these sessions together. So besides working in this way with mindfulness, learning how to change our relationship with our emotions, we also design a series of exposure challenges where we can put this training into effect and train with very specific triggers. And you know what those triggers are. So rather than avoiding them or trying to use willpower to force yourself through those anxiety situations, we train with them. So we train with them by imagining those triggers and then training with the reactions that occur and neutralizing those habitual reactions until we can imagine doing the challenge without any anxiety at all. Then we do the exposure challenge, whatever that might be. Doesn't matter what it is, we make sure that we do it. That's the important thing. And then you put your training into action. And so that experience, that direct experience, reinforces these new patterns of processing those particular challenges, those particular triggers. If you do this in a very strategic and disciplined way, taking on identified exposure challenges and doing them every day until you have completely mastered that challenge so that you feel no anxiety, then you will see progress very quickly indeed. Because once you start to see results with one of those exposure challenges, that will build your confidence and it will start to increase exponentially the more challenges you do. So this is called mindfulness-based exposure therapy, and it's one of the best approaches that I know of for working with agoraphobia and other anxiety disorders as well. So if you'd like to learn more about mindfulness therapy and how to apply mindfulness for overcoming your agoraphobia, and you like the idea of working with an online therapist, then do please contact me and let's schedule some Skype therapy sessions. Most people that I work with see results within 3 or 4 weeks. So let's get started on your recovery. Thank you.